Welcome to the Crush Cravings with Confidence podcast. I'm Coach Lisa Callahan, a recovered emotional eater. I ended decades of self-inflicted struggles with food through taking a journey of self-discovery, which revealed the secrets of what was going on underneath the food. Throughout this podcast, we'll explore topics that are rarely talked about, like low self-esteem, lack of confidence, people-pleasing, and decades of self-sabotaging behaviors. Rather than just focusing on the food, we'll dive deeper into aspects of who you are as a person and how you ended up relying on food for comfort to begin with. My mission is simple: to empower women to regain their confidence and prioritize self-love, regardless of the number on the scale. Discover what you've really been craving, and trust me, it's not about the food. This podcast is based on insights shared from the Women's Emotional Eating Community Support Group on Facebook, so be sure to check out the show notes for the link to the group and a complimentary gift just for you. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Hey. Welcome to another fun and insightful episode of the Crush Cravings with Confidence podcast. The topic today is 5 things you can do when you're bored instead of eating. All right. So before we dive in today, I just want to give a little shout out to all of the amazing women who follow me on my free Facebook community called the Women's Emotional Eating Community Support Group. And if you're not a member yet, just go ahead and go over to the show notes right now and click on the link and you can join. And this way you can keep updated on all of the current events that we have happening all the time. All right. Unlike most support groups in the emotional eating space, we don't talk about all of the boring stuff like food plans, meal substitutes, calories in, calories out, food journaling, or any other type of diet jargon that you're used to hearing about, because I find talking about food itself to be quite boring. Since it's not like real rocket science, and you don't have to have a degree to know that munching on potato chips while, eating huge servings of sugar and candy on the couch, that that's not the same thing as needing to know nutrition, right? When you're driving by a fast food restaurant and you can't help but stop, when you're passing by Dairy Queen 4 times a week and sitting in your car alone and eating that, and then following all these influencers to learn about nutrition facts, are you kidding? You're not ready for those nutrition facts yet. You have to crush this food thing first. And then, those nutrition facts will come in super handy, but not until you crush this food thing, period. And I totally get if you have a dietitian or a nutritionist to go over some specifics. If you have, some type of a health issue, you have diabetes, you've got some kind of condition where it's really important to watch your sodium intake, so having those helpful suggestions from a nutritionist is something if you're going to use the information in the way that it is meant to be presented. If you're going to put all of those food rules into your head and then tell yourself that it's too overwhelming and it's too boring to follow the diet and all that stuff, and then you're going to go ahead and still continue to eat emotionally, well, let's fix the emotional part first. And then you might be surprised some of that actual real, amazing nutrition stuff might actually seep in a different way. And I'm living proof of this because I was a nutrition coach. Like, I counseled people on nutrition. I put people on diets. I worked with figure skaters to help them get their nutrients and to lessen their body fat. And I did body fat measurements. I worked very specifically with certain groups of people to specifically get their body to respond in a certain way. Even when I was competing in figure competition, I had a coach and we went through minute by minute my diet. That wasn't a way to live. That wasn't what I was doing it for. So there's really, all of the diet rules and the diet jargon and all that stuff. It will be purposeful if you can crush your food thing, right? And so if you don't have a food thing, meaning that you don't have an emotional eating habit, and you're not telling yourself that you're eating because you're bored. And then, you know what to eat, but you're just not doing it. If we can get rid of that, then my goodness, you will be a world of nutritious knowledge because let's face it, you've been following along with diet gurus and learning all of that stuff forever. So let's just take everything that you know for now and let's just put a pin in it if we can. Because if we don't put a pin in the diet stuff that you already know, but you're just not doing, it's literally like putting the horse before the cart. And every time that you relearn the same old stuff, it's like, okay, have chicken that's the size of the palm of my hand, get a smaller plate, put 10 grapes in a little glass container and put them on the counter and then take one at a time into your mouth and put your hands down and all of the suggestions, how much protein you're getting, how much fat are you getting, whatever, calories in, calories out, all of that stuff. The reason why you're bored is because how many times do you need to relearn the same stuff over and over again? Clearly, learning that stuff is not helping. Time for something new. So, if you're struggling with emotional eating and you're not emotionally ready to know what to do with the food guidelines, this episode is for you. And so, I'll help you take a pause on learning about food so that you can learn a bit about yourself first. You see, that's part of the reason why you're boredom eating. You're focusing on boring things, whether it be a recipe club or even a binge eating Facebook group, which, by the way, the Women's Emotional Eating Community Support Group is not a binge eating support group. Hop on in there, see about all of the purposeful, meaningful topics that we talk about that have zero to do food. Focusing on something outside of yourself, it's just not going to cut it. Period. End of story. So you must start to shine a light inward. And I'm sad to say that if you're in this stale, stagnant, dark place of your mind where you're bored, then you've been there for far too long because you've seen every single thing over and over and over again. It's exhausting, which is why you feel so unmotivated. If we can turn that light inside of you on instead of turning the light inside of you off, that light will be able to help shine you in the direction towards your future self. But if you keep going back in, relearning the same old things, telling yourself you have the same old problems, telling yourself you just don't know how to stop. And interestingly enough, you could say, well, I've been on a million diets, Lisa. Yeah. Consider all of those diets as being one, period. It doesn't matter how many diets you've been on. That's the one thing that you've tried is a diet. And maybe you've tried 50 diets. The fact is the same. You've actually done one thing to fix this problem. Yeah, you've done 51 things, but that's why it's not working because it's the same thing over and over again. And it's time for a change now. So if you've been struggling with boredom eating, you're not alone in this habit. It's very common. And until you know better, you're not going to be able to do better. So first, take a deep breath and give yourself a little supportive squeeze on your shoulders. Because what I'm about to teach you is so powerful that it might just allow you to get out of your own way so that the future you can give you the ideas of how to get to her. Trust me when I say the future you no longer struggles with emotional eating. So, can you imagine a life without boredom, but with purpose instead? Now, you might be thinking, Lisa, all right, since my kids grew up and, I am retired or whatever, I don't know what my purpose is. Well, that's why you're bored, my friend. That's why you need, and we'll talk about that word need a little bit. That's why you think you need food to keep you company. It's a trick. And I promise you, When you start to see the bigger picture, you're going to be able to start to identify the parts that are keeping you stuck. So if you say to me, but Lisa, I need food to keep me company. I'm so stressed out. I need it as a crutch. All of the things that you've been saying to yourself for decades now, once again, how is that way working for you? Is that the thing that's keeping you bored? Probably because you've said the same thing for decades now. I mean, how boring can that get, right? So I'll say, is the food that is keeping you company, is that food, is that going to lead you towards where you want to go? To the version of you that no longer like needs the food? Like, think about the words that you're actually saying. Food is keeping me company. Like, food is a living, breathing thing. And it's not. That bag of potato chips, if you left that there on the couch for, I don't know, 80 years, that bag would still be sitting there. If you weren't in the room, that bag would not be crying. That bag would not be lonely. That bag is not keeping you company because something that's, you know, like a connection is with both parties have to be connected. So you're wanting to connect with an inanimate object. The food is not like feeling anything for you, period. Now, can the food give you things nutritionally? Absolutely. But not when you're smothering yourself with fake food and crap, because that's not able to even be digested in your body well. And that is the same thing that's making you feel like you're addicted. Those types of foods are not food. Let's be real. You know, potato chip in a bag is not food. You have to know this, right? I mean, you've been to a million nutrition classes. Do you not know that a potato chip in a bag or a Dairy Queen Blizzard or a McDonald's hamburger is not real food? Do you not know that? I feel like you have to know that by now because you've gone on so many diets. But the thoughts of that actually seeping in as being logic are not able to seep in because we have an underneath problem that's going on. And that underneath problem is the one that is making all of this stuff that you know is not logical. It makes it feel logical. Like when you're telling yourself that you need food to keep you company or that you're using it as a crutch or that you're using it to give yourself something to do. Give yourself something to do. You know that food's hurting you. So is that what you want to do? You want to spend your time hurting yourself? I'd like to change that because why would that be, right? Whether you've been following me for a while or this is your first time listening, I want to pause here and give a little background about what I mean. So, you're the only one thinking inside of your own mind. And although I know that you might be feeling like there's two of you, on one hand, I think this, and on one hand, I think that, and I know how to do it, but I just don't do it. Like all of those things, all of those thoughts, please back out of that for a minute. Stare at yourself, look at yourself in the mirror, and just repeat this. There is one me. There is one me. There is one me. One me. So that way you can start to understand and identify that, yeah, there are different parts of you, and yet all parts are important and all parts can be changed. Like we can move through these things. There is only one you. So when you tell yourself that you need food because you're bored, you're setting yourself up for immediate disappointment, regret, frustration, and even sadness because you might be feeling helpless to even stop yourself from sabotaging your best interest, even though you know better. Now, the good news is that I know how to fix this confusion. And in today's episode, we're going to be going through the antidote to boredom eating. I'm not going to make you wait for it either. I just want to give it to you right up front because this is the most important piece of the puzzle. And then we're going to layer 4 other strategies on top of that. So grab your pen or just settle in and listen because what you're going to learn today might be the exact shift that you've been waiting for decades. Also, take a moment, if you would, to stop listening for a minute and drop me a little comment to share what your thoughts are on boredom eating. You might not think this is fixable. So I kind of like to know what you're thinking right now, even before the episode, right? I want you to think about those moments that you're standing in front of the fridge, not because you're hungry, but because you're telling yourself, well, I've got to do something. So might as well go to the fridge. That is a sneaky subconscious habit. It's a total setup. We got to bust through this lie that you're telling yourself that you're just eating because you're bored. That has to stop. But here's what I want you to know: boredom isn't a problem, it's actually an invitation. Boredom is your imagination calling to you. So write that down. Boredom is your imagination calling to you. So write down, I am not bored. I'm simply craving new stimulation. I want purpose. And again, you might have thought, well, my kids are grown, my career's done, my partner passed, I don't know, my parents are aging. Now what? I don't have a purpose. Yes, you do. Everybody has a purpose. Everybody. Oh, but Lisa, I don't know what that means. I'm not spiritual. Yes, you are. Because everybody has a spiritual part of them. Now, you might be blocking it, and that's fair. I blocked mine for years, really years. I was like, I don't understand what this yoga schmoga, meditation. I don't know what that means. I am a fast thinker. I'm a type A. I've got ADHD. Yet, at the same time, you get good at what you practice. And I practiced all of that a lot. I practiced making excuses. I practiced blaming things. I practiced telling myself that I was just bored and so I was eating. You get good at what you practice. So as long as you tell yourself things that are the same things as you don't want, you will keep that habit going. All we have to do is get on the other side of that to get new stimulation. And that's why I want to teach you what I want to teach you here today, because that's going to help lead you towards your purpose. Your mind is a mirror. And if you tell yourself that you're eating because you're bored, you will have to keep doing that same thing. And that's how you're getting to the food. It's a sneaky setup. It's not the food calling to you. It's the part of you that's telling you that you're bored. And so then you need the food, and then you're blaming the food. And if you've listened to some past episodes before, you will know that blame is a protection. And so start writing these little clues down, little teeny tips, and be like, wait, what else am I blaming? How can I stop? So this is a sneaky trick of your subconscious mind. And remember, subconscious means below the level of your conscious awareness. Like you can't know what's happening because it's underneath, your conscious mind, but this is below it. And so you're going to have to get really keen to help your conscious mind see the subconscious habits, or else you just stay stuck with it. And that is going to be boring. So anyways, you have to decide that you want to make a change in your pattern, and your willingness has to be surrounded by learning something new. If you're not willing to learn something new, then nothing new will ever be learned, and you will remain bored, period. There's a really good quote. It says, nothing is easy for the unwilling. So there's another quote that I really like. It says, where there's a will, you'll find a way. Now, there's always a solution to every problem. And as long as you decide that you want to get through this one thing, this is the one thing that you have to have if you want to click your mind into the next level of awareness. This one thing is to get curious. Because if you're curious, then you're not going to be bored. Curiosity is like, oh, wow, there's a new fresh piece of the puzzle to solve. Like, let me figure this out, right? I want to back up for a second. I said this quote, where there's a will, you will find a way. We're often used to saying, where there's a will, there's a way. No, you have to find the way. It's not that obvious. You have to get curious so that then you can stimulate your mind to be like, oh, wait, what am I missing? And please, please don't tell me, Lisa, I have no idea what you're talking about. That's great. Listen to this again. That's great. Listen to this again. Just keep listening, keep engaging, keep learning new things. There's nothing behind you, my friend. Nothing. If your eyes are in the back of you, then you're going to be pretty bored. So if you're thinking about all old thoughts, if you're ruminating about things that happened in the past, if your eyes are behind you, you're not going to be able to see where you're going ahead of you. And so what I want you to do is help yourself get curious, put your eyes in front of you, start getting curious about how you can reach your future self. Curiosity is one of the most powerful things you can do when you're about to turn to food, when you feel like boredom hits. I remember actually taking a pen and paper and writing down, like, why do you feel bored, Lisa? And then like looking at, I don't know why I feel bored. Okay, well, what could you do instead? What are you looking for? I don't know. But the thing is that the setup was that I would tell myself I was bored. Then I would eat all the things. Then I wouldn't be bored. I would be sad and I would be angry and I would be disappointed and be regretful. That was the setup. The boredom part was the setup so that I could get to those feelings, right? This is the sneaky subconscious habits. We talk about this all the time here. Author Brene Brown shares a quote about curiosity in her book, Rising Strong. I'm going to take a sip of my water before I continue. Okay. Brene Brown says, curiosity is an act of vulnerability and courage. In this stage of the rising strong process, the reckoning, we need to get curious. We need to be brave enough to want to know more. I say brave because getting curious about emotion is not always an easy choice. I have to take a deep breath and think through questions like, what's at stake if I open myself up to investigate these feelings? Okay. But I promise, if you start to investigate your feelings instead of trying to numb, stuff them down, or deny them with food, you will never be bored again. In fact, quite the opposite. You'll be stimulated, aware, and open to learning new things. Trust me, learning new things is anything but boring. So, before we get back to the list, let's take a quick moment to talk about why we reach for food when we're bored. First of all, it's not because you're weak or undisciplined. That is a belief system that is not going to help you grow. Because you're craving stimulation. And food, well, gives you a quick hit of something to do, which is exactly why it's keeping you stuck. Because if you don't know how to start to get curious, this cycle can continue for decades. And then food simply becomes your default to ignore yourself and your own self-interest. Because when food becomes more important than you, yes, life gets boring. Okay. So before we move on, I want to review the list of the couple of things that we said before, just so that way you know what to do when you say that you're bored instead of eating. Number one, get curious about the part that you are using, the words that you're using, the thoughts that you're using, actions that you're using, what goes along with this. Is it that you go in and you're like, oh, I should go for a walk, but nah, that'll be boring by myself and I don't have anybody to go with and I don't have like, what is all the things that you're telling yourself that is getting you, convincing you to go in the other direction? Oh, I know. You know what? I'll just eat. Okay, wait, what? What happened, right? So if you want to keep boredom eating, keep telling yourself that you're bored. Remember, you're always going to get more of what you focus on. So if you focus on telling yourself you're bored, you're going to have to keep proving that to yourself by never doing anything different. Number two, be willing to explore new things. Boredom is simply your imagination calling to you. Remember, nothing is easy for the unwilling. So if you're not willing to explore new things, you're probably going to get pretty bored. Anybody would be, like anybody. When there's nothing new going on in your mind, you're rehashing the same old things for decades and going to get bored. That's just a fact. Number three, start becoming aware of your thoughts and your choices and start to check in on your own part of the claim to boredom. There's a philosophical thing that Brene Brown also says, and she says, what stands in the way becomes the way. So don't be the one thing that's standing in your own way and then calling it boredom, right? Period. There's a there's a phrase, and I want to make certain that you hear this with an open mind. I didn't make this one up, but it says, if you're bored, it's because you're boring. And the thing is the only reason why anything would become boring is if there's nothing new to talk about, nothing. And please know that talking about the news, politics, and all the things, that is external stuff. That's nothing new with you. With you, it's like, same old, same old. And so then you could be using the news, keeping the news and the old reruns and the old things that, used to make you feel good when you were a teenager, maybe. You could be using those things to keep yourself boring. Because if there's nothing new going on here, you could have a conversation with three people about what's going on in the world, the news, whatever, and act sort of like, what's happening. It's like, oh, yeah, I kept up with that. Oh, yeah, I saw that. And that could feel like it's interesting. It's not, though, because if you're the same old, nothing's changed within you. You're just looking outside of yourself for something to do. That's busy work. That's not ever going to lead you inside for the work that you have to do. That's busy work on the outside. We want to get to the inside. So let's get real and be willing to explore new things so that you can do this. Okay. So the first three suggestions were about mindset, which brings me to a fun formula. And I like to teach my self-discovery students that work with me in my Crush That Food Thing self-discovery system membership. This is the formula and you can write it down. Mindset times momentum equals motivation. So if you're feeling bored and unmotivated, it's probably because you don't have anyone cheering you on or supporting you along your journey so that you can keep your momentum going. Perhaps in your life, you've considered yourself to be more of a giver than a taker. And maybe you've convinced yourself that you don't need any help, or you're embarrassed to ask for help because you think you should have it all together by now. You know how many times I hear that? You're like, you'd think by my age. No, chronological age and the spiritual age inside of you are two different things. You could literally be 60, 70 years old and yet still feel the same way as you did when you were 6, right? So that's the aging that we want to have happen. We want to have spiritual aging. So you might have also equated your weight with your self-worth. That's a mistake. And it may make you feel like you have to lose weight first so that then you can get started on your journey. No, if you're thinking this, you're thinking about it in an unrealistic way. Sometimes we convince ourselves that the world is divided into two different types of people. And this is a quote that I like to share. It says, it's as if the world is divided into those who offer help and those who need help. And the truth is, we are both. This is actually from Brene Brown as well. I used her a lot in my podcast today. This is from her book, The Gifts of Imperfection. One of the greatest barriers to connection is the cultural importance we place on going at it alone. Somehow we've come to equate success with not needing anyone. Many of us are willing to extend a helping hand, but are reluctant to reach out when we need help ourselves. It's as if the world is divided into those who offer help and those who need help. Truth is, we are both. So this is your opportunity to turn your attention inward and allow yourself to focus on yourself so that you can stop being boring with yourself while you're waiting to lose weight so that then you can be happy. It doesn't work that way. You must start to become self interested now so that you can inspire yourself to learn new things about yourself. And when you continuously tell yourself the same old story, that's going to become boring and it's going to make you want to eat, period. So let's learn how to play a new, fun, and exciting game with yourself. Let's start to practice choosing your thoughts wisely by dropping all of the old labels that you have told yourself that are on rinse and repeat. So we want to literally get these thoughts out of your head because that'll at least help open up some space. So that way you won't be so bored. Okay, let's get rid of the I can't be trusted around food. That's boring. Let's get rid of the I have no willpower or I'm an emotional eater. That's just who I am. Get rid of that thought. Or if I mess up once, I'll ruin everything. Everything will be ruined for the whole day. Ugh, forget it. I should just eat the whole package now. Boring. Or I'll never get this right. Or I'm just broken when it comes to food. Or I'm addicted. I'm an addict to sugar and carbs. I just can't stop. That's an old and boring thought. Or I always sabotage myself. Yeah. So what? What new can you do? Right? So what? Okay, great. That's the old you. What can the new you do? And also, if I lose control again, I'll gain the weight back. Well, let's just see. How many times have you been on that roller coaster ride where you feel like you had to control yourself and then you lost control and then you went back on the ride and then you felt like you lost control? And I mean, is this way working or is it just a little bit boring? Okay. So now what we want to do is start to see those thoughts as being boring thoughts. And what I want you to take with this is an opportunity to start to change your thoughts so that you can introduce yourself to new thoughts that are exciting and uplifting. Things like, I'm learning. I'm learning to trust myself more and more every day. Trust isn't just something you have, it's something you build. How about, I don't need willpower when I have self compassion? Like, why would you want to eat 14 cookies? I know when I didn't have compassion for myself, I did eat 14 cookies and they felt like garbage. But now, wanting to take care of myself is so powerful that it allows me to see this whole new space that I didn't see before. I wouldn't ever have 14 cookies. I wouldn't feel good. Why would I want to do that? I have self compassion. The next suggestion is I'm not just an emotional leader. I'm a human being that has like a purpose. It's like, okay, so I don't know, like give yourself grace, maybe let yourself off the hook a little bit. And maybe instead of having an entire bag of potato chips, if you give yourself a little grace, maybe you'll only have a handful. And then that'll be okay. Because I promise that if you don't fix this problem from the roots, whether you have an entire bag of potato chips or you have a handful, you're still going to tell yourself you've done something wrong because that's the habit. So it won't matter. And really think about that. Does it really matter if you have 2 or 12? No, because you're always looking for that thing to make you feel bad about yourself. It's an old habit and it's pretty boring. All right. The next suggestion is tell yourself that one choice doesn't define me, that you can reset at any moment. So instead of you keeping yourself stuck in that old boring all or nothing mindset, you can recognize that it's like, oh, okay, well, hang on. You know what? I reached for that third cookie and that first bite of that third cookie, I was like, ooh, I don't know if maybe that wasn't, okay, that wasn't a great decision. Then that's it. Let yourself off the hook. Mistakes aren't like an end. And they're all part of the process of learning about yourself and what works best for you. I want you to know that if you don't emotionally eat anymore, that doesn't mean you're never going to have a full belly again. It just doesn't. It's like not realistic. You will be like, oh, I could have stopped 3 bites sooner, but it's not going to be part of an emotional, like, sabotaging where you're punching yourself for days and days on end. And then that leads to decades of self-sabotaging behavior. It doesn't mean that. Once we heal the root cause of the problem, like you'll understand this bit more and more. So, another suggestion is every step counts, even the messy ones. And that's what I mean. Like, progress isn't linear, like, it's always available for everybody. But that means that you're going to have to go through some, side steps to be able to get to where you want to go. You will ascend as you start to open up your heart more and more and heal yourself as a whole human being. Nothing to do with food or boredom or that you don't have a purpose. I mean, telling yourself you don't have a purpose but to eat is like, that's not okay. Remind yourself that you're not broken at all. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not an addict. It's not like you just were born without the ability to be able to trust yourself. None of that's true. None of that's true. This is a journey towards wholeness, not fixing. You're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You have old habits that we have to change, but there's nothing wrong with you. Please know that. Number 7 is I crave connection, not food. And that's something that I can honor, right? Craving is sacred. So let's listen to that in a different way. When you tell yourself you're craving cookies, pause for a second and be like, hang on a minute. If I wasn't telling myself that I'm craving cookies, what else could I think? Sit on that for a minute. Come up with something before you allow yourself to have the cookie. Sit on that. If you tell yourself, I'm craving cookies, I'm craving chocolate, I'm craving this, I'm craving that, but it all leads you to feeling sadness and shame and blame and guilt and regret and whatever, that's what you're craving. All right. Another suggestion is to remind yourself that your past patterns don't predict your future choices. Your old story doesn't have to be the next chapter, right? This is an old story. So that's why it's boring. You've read it over and over again. Another one would be to tell yourself that you're safe to loosen control and still feel grounded. In fact, if anything, I want you to work towards feeling freedom. You are free to have 14 cookies. You don't need to have control. You are free to have 14 cookies. And those 14 cookies are going to lead you to feel like garbage. And that's a choice. And you have to know that you're making it. What stands in the way becomes the way. Control, or telling yourself that you want control, that is a coping tool. And that tool is not going to take you very far. You're looking for freedom. I want you to build something deeper with yourself. And one of the other suggestions that I have is to tell yourself, I don't need to earn happiness. Like, I don't need to have these cookies to make me happy. I'm allowed to feel happy now. I don't have to lose 20 pounds to feel happy. I'm allowed to feel happy now. Happiness isn't a reward. It's just like a right thing, period. You don't have to earn it. I'll be happy when, if you ever tell yourself, you got to stop. That right there is a thought that's meant to keep you stuck. All right. So, one more little suggestion is to add in what's called a micro joy activity. Micro decisions are going to be the ones where they're tiny. And so I want you to start to make micro decisions that lead you towards joy every day. So a micro joy is a tiny spark of pleasure or fun that reconnects you with you. Doesn't have to be big, just has to be enough to start to shift your energy. Tony Robbins talks about this as saying, change your vibration, right? So my suggestion would be to start hanging out with people who get you, people who lift you up, who can embrace the idea of you changing. Because I know that sometimes you might say, well, I can't change. And like, this is what my husband likes to do. He likes to sit on the couch and he likes for me to like sit with him while he watches his shows. And I'm pretty bored. So I sit on the couch and eat all night. Okay, that's okay. He can stay doing the couch thing and you can sit next to him doing the couch thing. While you're doing that, though, you could also be listening to his podcast. So you can engage yourself in ways that will help lift you up. And you're going to have to start to embrace the idea that other people can help lift you up as you start to change. Because if not, you might convince yourself that change is impossible for you. Yes, it is. And that's not true. Change is possible for everybody. So if you feel like change is impossible for you, not true. It's just not. And that you're going to have to start convincing yourself that you're not bored because you are interested in learning new things, things that bring you connection and purpose and passion, and that you're doing that right now just by listening to this podcast. So, here are some ways that we can connect by joining a beautiful, supportive, loving community. If that seems like something that's a right fit for you or something that you want to step into so that you don't feel so bored all the time, I actually have a new 3-week challenge beginning soon. It's called the Mindset Makeover. And this one's going to be a guided challenge. So I know that we always talk about the Mindset Makeover and how it's available. We're going to start doing it as more of a community because I really do feel like that is the best way to be able to work towards a future you, is to be in a supportive community where people get you and people get what you're striving for. That's going to help break up all this boredom. So, the Mindset Makeover Guided Challenge is packed with new practical strategies to help you break the cycle of boredom eating with kindness, not control. We're healing together, one craving, one conversation, and one shift at a time. Okay. Until next time, my friend, just remember you are doing better than you think, and you deserve to live an extraordinary life where food becomes an afterthought because you are living your life with purpose. All right. I'll see you next time. Bye for now. All right, my beautiful friend, that brings us to the end of another episode from the Crush Cravings with Confidence podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening today and took something from our conversation that you are going to put into immediate action. I love spending time with you and would be so grateful if you would share this podcast with at least one friend today who you think might be struggling too. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any other amazing topics. And please, please do leave me a review. It would mean the world to me. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.